Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Finn McDermott and here are your top stories on Thursday, the 30th of October. Allée Le Rouge. Virgin Media get the all clear to speed ahead with Channel Tunnel train routes.
2.2 billion could be generated over a 5-year period if international trains return to Southeast.
Turquoise triumph or trouble? Voters have their say on reform's first 6 months at Kent County Council.
Can't seem to run a council, let alone a country.
And blown away. Team behind Draper's Windmill in Margate celebrate receiving Grade 2 listed status.
We've decided it's worthy of an upgrade to Grade 2 star, which is only about 5.8% of listed buildings.
But first, our top story this evening. Trains to Europe are one step closer to returning to Kent. This is after the rail regulator gave Virgin Trains permission to use a key international depot in London. The Office of Rail and Road has granted the operator access to Temple Mills Railway Storehouse, challenging Eurostar's cross-channel monopoly. It comes 5 years after international services were cut from Ebbsfleet and Ashford. While the announcement has been greeted with overwhelming support from across the county, Virgin haven't yet fully committed to putting the Kent stops back on their route map, as Megan Shaw's been finding out.
I have got something for you. Let's see what happens. Ta-da! That's better. There's a Virgin bag. And enjoy our new train service in a couple of years.
It's Eurostar dominance no more, as Virgin Trains have received the green light to operate international rail services using the Channel Tunnel, which could put direct routes to Europe from Kent back on the map. The UK's rail regulator, the Office of Rail and Road, has announced the Branston-owned company will have access to Temple Mill International Depot, the same one used by Eurostar. The ORR have explained this could unlock 400 new jobs and 700 million in investment, as well as potential cheaper prices for customers, encouraged by the new competition. Branston's plan is to launch these new services in 2030, putting an end to Eurostar having monopolised the Channel Tunnel since 1994. But the real question is, will these new trains stop at international stations in Kent, where the Eurostar has stopped visiting? Councillors remain optimistic.
So the first thing to say is that this is really, really positive, good news. It's really great to have some for a change, that we're getting somewhere. We've taken a step forward on our journey back towards international rail travel from Ashford, and all in all, I'm optimistic that this is the right thing to do.
I'm delighted that Virgin has won this bid, because on the day at this big event that we had at the end of September, I had a lovely chat with one of the directors from Virgin who'd come down especially for the event, and he assured me that if they were successful, they would stop in Kent. So the next step really is to persuade the government to reopen these stations, because of course as soon as the stations are officially reopened and brought back up to standard, we can get those services stopping as soon as Virgin start running their trains.
The Virgin Group explained that should the former stations be able to accommodate international services once again, the new trains will stop in Kent. Those in Ashford seem excited by the possibility.
Well, I think it's such a shame that it's there and it's not being used enough. We spent all this money getting it there for the local people to use, to go further afield, and it's just not being used enough. It's such a shame.
I think it'll bring a lot of business to the town as well, and I think it's a very good idea.
Why not? I mean, it's there, it needs to be used for something. It's just a waste of money if it sits there doing nothing.
Eurostar blames COVID-related debt for pulling the plug on its Kent services. But Virgin Trains also faces financial barriers to be able to bring these stations back to life, without updating infrastructure in Ebbsfleet and Ashford stations to accommodate new international services. These trains will be stopped at a signal, once again awaiting green light. Megan Shaw for KMTV in Ashford.
And Kristen Hawthorne joins me live now from St Pancras International, where the news was announced earlier today. So Kristen, it's quite big in St Pancras. Whereabouts are you actually in the station?
Well, I'm upstairs because it's simply too busy downstairs to be doing the live. However, downstairs there are banners across the station saying all aboard and ooh la la that have been put up by Virgin. It was quite a surprise and has created quite a buzz in Kent, with people hoping that it could mean that the train services will return back to Kent.
Yeah, and we can see some of that hustle and bustle on the screen now. Certainly still busy, but the question on many people in Kent's mind, does this mean that services would be coming back to Kent?
Well, not just yet, but it is a promising start. Eurostar stopped calling at Ashford and Ebbsfleet in 2020, blaming Brexit border checks and falling passenger numbers. Now, this decision means those stations could reopen to international services in the future, but it will depend on how quickly those routes can be agreed. But we might be seeing them by 2030, hopefully.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Kristen. I'm sure we'll catch back up with you later in the show. Now, just 6 months ago, Reform UK swept to power at Kent County Council, and it's been far from a smooth ride. From expulsions to defections and accusations of infighting between the leadership and backbench councillors, the party has faced plenty of criticism. Despite this, the party still tops most opinion polls nationally. But what do you in Kent think? Our local democracy reporter Ollie Leader has been out and about in Sheerness and Maidstone for this special report.
All of our energies have been focused on choosing the right person to lead this group into the future. We've already made history.
It was just 6 months ago at Kent County Council that Reform UK swept the local elections. They won 57 out of a possible 81 council seats, painting County Hall turquoise in the process. But 6 months is a long time in politics, and since then we've seen suspensions, expulsions and infighting dominating the local and national headlines when it comes to our local upper tier authority.
I'm just asking you.
You are, that's exactly what you're asking me to do.
But what do the people that voted for them think? Are they going to give them any leeway after their first 6 months? And do they think that time was a success?
I was really disappointed with the other party. I voted for Reform, but I'm sorry.
You got me there. You got me there, I'm afraid.
This is the first 6 months of Reform UK in the eyes of the people of Kent. Back in May, over 17,000 people turns up at the polling booths on the Isle of Sheppey. And of those, nearly 10,000 voted for Reform candidates. Are those same people now feeling any buyer's remorse?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Why is that? What's gone wrong?
They can't seem to run a council, let alone a country.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
I was all for it.
And if they keep to the promises that they've made, even better.
I think in all parties you get arguments and people fall out for one another. I think at the moment people are finding their feet, and I think once things settle down it'll be okay.
We needed something different than that, definitely, from what we've had, and so that's why I thought. But now I'm not 100% certain sort of what they've done, to be honest with you.
Are you getting a bit of buyer's remorse?
A little bit, yes.
The hint of a sea change in public opinion on the shores of Sheerness. But further inland, a different story is taking shape.
Maidstone is the county town, and they did elect quite a few Reform councillors, some of whom have now been expelled from the party. Even Lyndon Kemcaron, the leader of the council, is a Maidstone councillor, though for the South East Division. So do people on the streets of Maidstone support the new party at County Hall? And do they think they've been doing a good job?
We can't really tell, can we? I mean, and as for them arguing, I can't see that's anything to worry about, really, because, I mean, we all get a bit hot under the collar at times, don't we?
So no buyer's remorse as of yet?
No. And I hope they go further.
You know, you sort of hope they do the right thing, but I suppose they've started to try and do potholes and other things. But no, I think they do the best. That's all I can say.
I'm sure everybody will give reform a chance, but it just seems to be that when they get the chance, they don't know quite what to do with the situation.
Personally, the way I see it is Labour couldn't do it, Conservatives couldn't do it, so let's give another party a chance, see what they do, and hopefully they can, and let's just go from there.
A county divided, much like the party overseeing it. But the leader of Kent County Council says the last 6 months have still been a success.
It's been a huge success. Yes, we've had our ups and downs. We're a brand new political party. We achieved an historic win back in May, taking control of the whole council. There were bound to be a few hiccups along the way, but you know what? That's yesterday's news, because as you can see, it is business as usual.
There's still big questions hanging in the air. There's a £2.5 billion budget to set sooner rather than later. And many people on our high streets are wondering, will the next 6 months be smoother than the last? Ollie Leader at County Hall.
Well, it is now time for a break, but next up we'll have news on the ranking of the most deprived Kent neighbourhoods, which is on the rise. And we'll also take a look at the new opening of Kent's Medway and Orthopaedic Centre, where the Minister of State for Health visited staff and met them and toured their facilities. And we'll also have a quick look at the weather. That's all after this very short break. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. Now, the number of Kent neighbourhoods ranked among the country's most deprived has increased during the last 6 years. This has come from new government data. Ramsgate Town Centre has the county's highest levels of deprivation. This is according to the 2025 Index of Multiple Deprivation. More than 70 neighbourhoods across Kent now fall inside England's most deprived 10%. This is up from 51 in 2019. Here to break down the figures is Maisie Walker. Maisie, tell me a bit about where these stats that we can see here behind us, where have these come from?
So these stats came from the Index of Multiple Deprivation, IMD, which was published last week. So more than 70 neighbourhoods across Kent now fall inside England's most deprived 10%, up from 51 in 2019. Parts of Swale and Medway are also now scoring worse compared to other areas on measures such as income, employment, education, health and crime. In Ramsgate, several neighbourhoods have fallen sharply in the rankings. The area covering the town centre is now ranked 48th most deprived in England. Nearby parts of Newington and central Ramsgate also feature inside the worst 1%, making the town the most deprived in Kent.
I see. And have any of the actual councils from any of these areas, have they said anything?
So Councillor Steve Albon has said that obviously this hasn't happened overnight. This has been a long-term thing. There are, which is pretty common across the country, drug problems, alcohol problems, and there aren't enough places for work that give a decent salary to make people's lives better. Councils are scraping around for money to get things done, just to get that everyday things that we should already be getting done. And that's not just in Thanet, that's across the country. We do a lot of things for our residents to try and make things better, but it's going to take some time. In fact, these figures come from despite years of promised regeneration and millions of pounds in government funding. In 2021, Thanet District Council revealed 19.8 million from the government's Levelling Up Fund to improve the Royal Harbour and poor area, restore historic buildings and create jobs. Earlier programmes such as Coastal Communities Fund and the Future High Streets Initiative also aimed to revive the town centre and boost tourism. But despite these efforts, deprivation has worsened.
I see. Tough to hear for some of our areas in Kent here, but thank you for bringing us this information. Next, a man from Maidstone has been sentenced to 8 years imprisonment for partially severing a man's hand during a burglary back in March. Leonard Coates posed as a delivery driver to gain access to a property in Square Hill Road before attacking the victim in front of his partner and child and stealing £2,500 and a watch. Kent police were called to the scene alongside South East Coast Ambulance Service, where the victim was left with a series of injuries to his hand that required specialist reconstructive surgery. Coates initially declined to enter a plea, but later pled guilty to aggravated burglary, causing grievous bodily harm, and possession of a knife in a public place. He'll serve an extended licence period of 2 years upon his release and has been made the subject of a restraining order for 15 years. Next, specialist crews are due to start clearing asbestos debris at Lawn Primary School following a fire at the nearby Portlands building in Northfleet High Street. This comes as earlier advice told residents of Factory Road in Northfleet to stay inside and keep their windows and doors closed. This has now been lifted following the major fire last weekend. Locals have raised concerns about the asbestos, which covered their cars, houses and gardens, as well as there being issues with the advice given by Gravesham Council. The UK Health Security Agency has advised there is no significant health concern. And now a multi-million-pound surgical centre at Maidstone Hospital has celebrated its formal naming and first anniversary with a visit from the Minister of State for Health. The Minister met staff and toured the Kenton Medway Orthopaedic Centre. As the NHS struggles with growing waiting lists, Karen Smith spoke to staff about how to improve care and manage patient flow. Alfie Rowe was there.
3, 2, 1.
A special day celebrating the important work of the day-to-day. Whilst the Minister of State for Health, Karen Smith, is used to doing the rounds at hospitals, this time Kent is the destination of choice. Opened in September of last year, the Kent and Medway Orthopaedic Centre deals with patients across the county in need of bone and joint treatment. Now, the main reason the Minister has come here today is to see how the facility is improving patient care.
So I wanted to come here today to hear from the staff here and the leaders about what they're trying to do. They've done amazing work getting down those extra long waiters down to zero. They've got more work to do, they know that, in getting down these waiting lists. We know how challenging that is across Kent and Medway.
The NHS waiting list in England has risen, according to the Office of National Statistics, by 1.3 million in 2 years. And medical staff are feeling the strain.
I think resources is the biggest problem, or the financial constraints on the resources that are available to us. And we try and make use of things in the best way that we can. And we try and save as much as we can and still work efficiently, but access to more resources would definitely help.
We know there's a long way to go, but we've made huge inroads in it, both with our investment of £26 billion from the Chancellor last year at last year's budget, our improvement to urgent emergency care, which is also really important. Centres like this separate that emergency care from this planned care, so it means you can get through those lists more quickly, and that's what we're determined to do.
But with the Orthopaedic Centre delivered as part of a national drive by the previous Conservative government, this time Labour will have to share the credit. And with the future direction of the NHS still uncertain, the government will be judged by what they do moving forward. Alfie Rowe for KMTV in Maidstone.
And to sport now, Gillingham Football Club will be returning to South Wales this Saturday to face off against Newport County for the FA Cup. This is just a few weeks after the teams met at Rodney Parade in the league, where the Gills took home 3 points. This is the first round tie for League 2. A victory would be a boost for the Gills as they lost the last 6 competitions. They will be, however, lacking goalkeeper Glenn Morris, who could be sidelined for weeks with injury. He went off injured just a few minutes into last weekend's game against Salford City after suffering a muscle strain. Staying with football now, Dartford manager Adi Pennock is relishing this weekend's fixture against Welling United. Pennock takes charge against his former club as Darts boss for the first time at Princes Park on Saturday. Pennock spent 2 seasons as Welling boss from 05 to 07 before leaving to take an academy role at Stoke City. It's a much changed club now, but he told a press conference ahead of the match that he still looks back fondly on his first managerial role at Parkview Road. Next, teenage batter Jayden Denley has signed a new 3-year contract with Kent Cricket Club. Denley has played 31 first-class matches and List A matches for Kent since graduating from the club's academy in 2023. He follows his uncle, Joe Denley, in extending his contract at Canterbury after the former England opener signed on for his 20th season last week. He's scored 398 runs in 10 first-class matches at an average of 26.53, as well as claiming 22 wickets off his left-arm spin. Now, don't forget you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website, that's kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one, where Chloe Brewster investigated a spate of postboxes being vandalised in Dartford.
I'm here on the streets of Dartford, where these postboxes have been causing quite a stir. Now, it's been a year and a half since 38 postboxes in the Dartford area were vandalised. Some spray painted in gold, just like this one, and others were slightly more interesting. A Cadbury's Cream Egg and Mr Blobby. These are just some of the varied designs Danny Wiskin, a 34-year-old from Chaucerway in Dartford, left on postboxes in this town last year. Gold was the most popular design of choice by Wiskin, emulating those featured in the hometowns of 2012 Olympic medal winners. While many of the vandalised postboxes were repainted back to their familiar bright red base, it seems the designs unleashed a wave of copycat vandal Van Goghs.
I did actually think they looked alright, but at the same time, not, because it's public property at the end of the day, and obviously that's Royal Mail.
Makes it look very tatty, makes the town look untidy.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't think that they look good at all.
Well, I think they brighten the place up a bit, actually. I know you're not meant to do it, but I think they look quite good.
I hesitate to actually put anything in them because they do this, because I think if they do that on the outside...
Are they going to be vandalised?
They vandalise inside.
A Royal Mail spokesperson said, "We are aware of the vandalised postboxes and are arranging for them to be repainted. Royal Mail regularly inspects and maintains all its postboxes across the UK. Any that are damaged or vandalised are added to our maintenance programme and repainted as soon as resources and weather conditions allow." But what do the people of Dartford want done with their postboxes?
The art could be better, and if it's not going to be excellent, then I think
the traditional post box would impress people more.
I don't mind them if they was professionally painted and they looked very, professionally done, then
Well, I still
I've got
think
no
they
objection.
should. I still think they should be red.
Oh yeah.
Public holidays, VE Day, stuff like that, you could do something with them.
Invite Banksy.
Whether you're missing the familiar red or feel the post boxes have become part of the culture here, we're sure Royal Mail are hoping no more repainting bills arrive in the post. Chloe Brewster from KMTV in Dartford.
Now, later in the show, we'll be going in depth on windmills. And if you can keep up, I've been hiding some wind puns all along that piece. So let's have a look at the weather and see how the wind will fall. That isn't one, but there are some real ones coming up. So let's take a look at the weather. And it's mostly cloudy skies with some light rain and a hint of heavy rain, and temperatures sitting at around 13 degrees. You can expect cloudy skies with light rain and a hint of sun tomorrow morning, with temperatures raining at across 14 degrees across the board. More rain there. Now for the afternoon, cloudy skies will dominate with temperatures sitting at mostly 15 degrees across Kent. And here's the coming days. Outlook shows Saturday reaching a temperature of 15 degrees with a fall to 12 on Sunday, a rise of 15 on Monday. It's raining cats and dogs on Saturday. Now it is time for a break, and during that time maybe you can help me think of some more weather-related puns. But while you're doing that, do keep in mind we'll be returning back to our top story, all about Virgin International trains that'll stop at Ashford and Ebbsfleet. That is, if the stations are updated. And we'll also be going into a few other stories as well, including my windmill one. Keep an eye out for that one. But for now, we'll have a quick break. See you in a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on where else? Well, of course, it's KMTV. Now, let's have a look at our top stories from today. First of all, pardon my French, allez les rouges. Virgin Media get all clear to speed ahead with the Channel Tunnel train routes. Turquoise triumph or trouble? Voters have their say on reform's first 6 months at KCC. And blown away, the team behind the Drapers Windmill in Margate celebrate a Grade 2 star-listed status. Apologies to our friends from across the channel for my pronunciation there, but could I be apologising in person as trains to Europe are one step closer to returning to Kent? This is after the rail regulator gave Virgin Trains permission to use a key international depot in London. The Office of Rail and Road has granted the operator access to Temple Mills Railway Storehouse, challenging Eurostar's cross-channel monopoly. It comes 5 years after international services were cut from Ebbsfleet and Ashford. While the announcement has been greeted with overwhelming support from across the county, Virgin have yet to fully commit to putting the Kent train stops back on their route map, as Megan Shaw's been finding out.
I have got something for you. Let's see what happens. Ta-da! That's better. There's a Virgin bag. And enjoy our new train service in a couple of years.
It's Eurostar dominance no more, as Virgin Trains have received the green light to operate international rail services using the Channel Tunnel, which could put direct routes to Europe from Kent back on the map. The UK's rail regulator, the Office of Rail and Road, has announced the Branston-owned company will have access to Temple Mill International Depot, the same one used by Eurostar. The ORR have explained this could unlock 400 new jobs and 700 million in investment, as well as potential cheaper prices for customers, encouraged by the new competition. Branston's plan is to launch these new services in 2030, putting an end to Eurostar having monopolised the Channel Tunnel since 1994. But the real question is, will these new trains stop at international stations in Kent, where the Eurostar has stopped visiting? Councillors remain optimistic.
So the first thing to say is that this is really, really positive, good news. It's really great to have some for a change, that we're getting somewhere. We've taken a step forward on our journey back towards international rail travel from Ashford, and all in all, I'm optimistic that this is the right thing to do.
I'm delighted that Virgin has won this bid, because on the day at this big event that we had at the end of September, I had a lovely chat with one of the directors from Virgin who'd come down especially for the event, and he assured me that if they were successful, they would stop in Kent. So the next step really is to persuade the government to reopen these stations, because of course as soon as the stations are officially reopened and brought back up to standard, we can get those services stopping as soon as Virgin start running their trains.
The Virgin Group explained that should the former stations be able to accommodate international services once again, the new trains will stop in Kent. Those in Ashford seem excited by the possibility.
Well, I think it's such a shame that it's there and it's not being used enough. We spent all this money getting it there for the local people to use, to go further afield, and it's just not being used enough. It's such a shame.
I think it'll bring a lot of business to the town as well, and I think it's a very good idea.
Why not? I mean, it's there, it needs to be used for something. It's just a waste of money if it sits there doing nothing.
Eurostar blames COVID-related debt for pulling the plug on its Kent services. But Virgin Trains also faces financial barriers to be able to bring these stations back to life, without updating infrastructure in Ebbsfleet and Ashford stations to accommodate new international services. These trains will be stopped at a signal, once again awaiting green light. Megan Shaw for KMTV in Ashford.
Well, Kristen Hawthorne is down at St Pancras International, where the news was announced earlier today. So, Kristen, tell me, whereabouts are you at the station? I'm aware it's quite a big place.
Well, I've moved from the last time I was here. I've actually moved to where you can hopefully see more of the signs, which gives a bit of an impression of what is downstairs. And also, if you're keeping a close eye, you might be able to see it behind me as well. So it's all across the station and it's really quite exciting.
Yeah, we can see those pictures now, all aboard, being advertised there by Virgin Media. So tell me, have the Office of Road and Rail agreed with Virgin on these proposals?
Well, so the Office of Rail and Road has granted Virgin access to the Temple Mills International Depot in East London. That's the key engineering site Eurostar uses for its international trains. It's a big deal because for nearly 30 years, Eurostar has had a monopoly on services through the Channel Tunnel, and now this move breaks that monopoly, allowing other operators like Virgin to start planning routes to mainland Europe.
I see. And does this mean that services are coming back to Kent? What can you tell us about that?
Well, not just yet. They won't be coming to Kent just yet, but it is a promising start. Eurostar stopped calling at Ashford and Ebbsfleet back in 2020. I'm sure everyone will remember, blaming Brexit and border checks and falling passenger numbers. Now, this decision means those stations could reopen to international services in the future, but it will depend on how quickly those new routes can be agreed. Virgin will still need commercial deals, safety approvals and funding before trains can actually run. So we're probably talking about 2030 before we could be seeing the international trains back in Kent.
I see. And apart from Ooh La La and All Aboard, what else have Virgin been saying?
Well, Virgin have said that Virgin is talking to Kent County Council and other stakeholders about stopping at both Ebbsfleet and Ashford, as it set out its ORR submission. Reopening the stations to be able to accommodate international services requires commitment and resources from all parties and operators. But if the stations are opened, Virgin will stop at Kent.
I see. And thank you so much for your time, Chris, and I believe that is all we have from you. So thank you for bringing us this story. Now, a Mepham dad is demanding answers after his young daughter narrowly escaped serious injury. This is when a harness strap snapped on a bungee trampoline at an event in Swanley Park. Ray Curran's 10-year-old daughter Georgie hurtled towards the ground at force when the cord broke on the Dinosaurs in the Park attraction held this half-term. Mr Curran, who's the operations manager at the Chatham Dockside Shopping Centre, is also a health and safety expert. He grabbed his daughter from the jump mat and a first aider rushed to help. Mr Curran said it beggars belief that the attraction carried on with around 4 children still on the board, with the damaged strap left dangling from the frame. A spokesperson for Dinosaurs in the Park has said the required safety documentation was in place and the equipment had been signed off by an independent health safety specialist. Next, after 200 years of serving locals, the Valiant Sailor near to Folkestone will be shutting its doors. In a public statement, the pub's management have announced the closure, declaring that financial pressures have made it no longer possible for them to continue trading. Locals have expressed their sadness, saying the pub had a welcoming atmosphere and they hope for it to thrive once again. Now, the team behind one historic landmark in Margate certainly have the wind in their sails. Told you the weather puns would be coming there. They managed to save it from demolition, and after years of restoration work, the Drapers Windmill has now been awarded a new Grade 2 star listing status from Historic England. What that basically means is the windmill has more protections as a site and could potentially earn more recognition, volunteers and grants. It's also quite rare. Only about 5% of Historic England recognised historical sites actually have this star listing. And it just means, like I mentioned there, more protections. And what's especially quite unique about the windmill is that it actually still works. And I was inside checking it out. Kent has deep historical significance as a county, no matter when or where you look, whether it's military, Roman or nautical. But how do you decide what is official, verified history or not? Well, Historic England have a grading system where they'll recommend buildings to become grade listed, and one of Margate's oldest sites, which might have some new wind in its sails, has managed to earn an upgrade. Draper's Windmill was listed as Grade 2 since 1973, which is the most common for listed buildings.
Doing research and looking at it again, we've decided it's worthy of an upgrade to Grade 2 star, which is only about 5.8% of listed buildings are Grade 2 star. What that means is that it's of more than special interest. It's a particularly important building. This building's particularly important because it's a 19th century smock mill that survives in remarkable condition and survives with a lot of its original machinery, and it still works, which is really fantastic.
Now, windmills used to cover the entire country, and very few actually still remain standing, and even fewer actually work, and that's one of the reasons why Drapers managed to earn its Grade 2 star listing. But it's not always an easy path from restoration to this kind of recognition.
As I said, the milling business was very prosperous in the 19th century, and in about the 1880s, the miller built a fine new villa next to the second windmill, which became my family home. And I grew up there, went to the school, which is just across the road and takes its name from the windmills, Drapers Mills School. And when the mill was threatened with demolition, the head teacher of the school and my mother and the rest of the family and lots of other parents of children at the school got together to form a charity which saved the mill, and that's why we are where we are today.
Since saving the site, Michael has gone on to work with the team to keep the mill not only well maintained, but even up and running, producing their own flour. The new listing means more legal protections for the 182-year-old building as well, making it less likely to be turned into houses, which has been the case for many other mills of its age across the country. Drapers Windmill is the sole survivor compared to the other two windmills that used to neighbour it, Little Drapers Mill and the Pumper. And the Trust hope that the new grade means the mill will survive for many years more, earning itself another second wind. Finn McDermott for KMTV in Margate. After this break, we'll meet the Eurasian lynx that's returned to Kent with a new enclosure near Canterbury as part of a reintroduction project. We'll also meet Kent author Adam Weymouth, who's followed a wolf's journey across Europe for his new non-fiction book. And we'll catch up with all things spooky and scary with Kent Film Club's Chris Deasy after this short break. Welcome back to Kent Tonight Live here on KMTV. Now, you might be familiar with the successful reintroduction of bison in Blean Woods near Canterbury. Well, the team who brought the bison back, say that 3 times fast, have now turned their attention to the Eurasian lynx. The Wildwood Trust have opened a new enclosure near Canterbury to breed the animal for reintroduction. The predator was once native to the UK, but was brought to extinction in medieval times through hunting and habitat loss. Sticking with animal news, and Kent author Adam Weymouth has successfully completed a 1,000-mile trek across Europe, retracing the incredible journey of a wolf named Slavic. His new book, Lone Wolf, follows the animal from Slovenia to Italy and explores the return of wolves to areas they once vanished from. It has been shortlisted for the prestigious Baillie Gifford Prize for Non-Fiction. Weymouth says his inspiration often comes from the Kent coast, where he lives and writes in Ramsgate. Bet he can do a good wolf impression at the pub. Now, don't forget, you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website. That's kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one about how the Stour Centre in Ashford was giving people the skills to save a life.
Restart a Heart Day is exactly what it sounds like. It's about teaching people how to save lives through one simple technique: CPR.
To start CPR, after checking to see that the victim isn't responding or breathing after 8 to 10 seconds, the next step is to place the palm of your hand onto them, then lock your arms together and using your upper body strength, start pushing down on the victim's chest at the rate of about 120 beats per minute.
Lessons were taking place at the Stour Centre in Ashford to equip visitors with a skill that could save someone's life.
So it's really important that members of the public understand or know how to do CPR. Well, first of all, understand and know how to recognise that someone is in cardiac arrest and what to do if they find someone in cardiac arrest. Although the ambulance service prioritises cardiac arrest patients, as that there are category 1 incidents, it's what the members of the public, family and members of the community do in the meantime whilst the ambulance is on the way that makes the biggest difference between a life lost and a life saved.
I mean, from personal experience, I've been in a situation where I've had to do CPR out in public. I think if everybody can have those skills and know at least that, you know, it's okay to try your best in this situation, that actually that's all we need.
Restart a Heart Day has an important meaning to healthcare workers, as around 30,000 people in the UK have a sudden, out-of-hospital cardiac arrest.
I came in today with Amber as a lovely foundation to do some CPR training. I'm luckily already know a little bit about CPR. But I found today as kind of like a really helpful refresher.
Medical staff are hoping that the public take these lessons to heart. Henry Luck for KMTV in Ashford.
Now let's take a quick look at the weather. Mostly cloudy skies with some light rain and a hint of heavy rain as well. Temperatures sitting around 13 degrees. You can expect cloudy skies with light rain and a hint of sun tomorrow morning, with temperatures remaining at 14 degrees across the board. For the afternoon, cloudy skies will dominate, with temperatures sitting at around 15 degrees across Kent. So high wind speeds there as well. Here's your outlook for the coming days. Saturday, reaching a temperature of 15 degrees, fall to 12 degrees on Sunday, followed by a rise to 15 degrees on Monday. You can see some rain there on Saturday as it goes. And finally, as ever on Thursdays, we're joined by Chris Deasy from the Kent Film Club, as they've got a new episode right after this. In a moment, we'll be discussing the news that legendary composer John Williams will be returning to score Steven Spielberg's next film for a historic 30th celebration. But first, it's spooky season, and to celebrate, we want to see how many freaky films we can identify as being filmed from here in Kent. So, Chris, I hope you're prepared for a particularly spooky Kent quiz.
Well, we'll see. I don't always do too well on these.
Okay, I can see you're dressed in all black as well.
Well, quite deliberately. There is a mask as well, but I thought that might, at this time of evening, I think this is sufficiently spooky.
Fair enough. Well, first of all, we have 4 questions. First off, which of these films used the Old Town Hall in Gravesend to film? Autopsy of Jane Doe, American Werewolf in London, The Plague of Zombies, or The Wicker Man?
Okay, I'm definitely not D. Oh, I don't think I've seen The Plague of Zombies. Don't think The American Werewolf in London was filmed in Kent.
No, not unless they took...
I'm going to go for C, actually.
C, The Plague of Zombies is unfortunately incorrect. It is the youngest of these films.
The Jane Doe.
Autopsy of Jane Doe. So no luck with that one so far, but let's see if we can keep going. Okay, let's have a look at our next one. Which 2021 horror film was shot entirely in Kent? A, The Shepherd, B, The Power, C, The Last Rite, or D, Censor?
Oh, I'm fairly sure it's The Last Rite, C.
I think you are correct. Let's have a look. It is The Last Rite, C. So, okay, we're halfway there, 50%. Let's see if we can get any more. Now, moving on, which 2 of these 2017 films used the Home Farm, which is an American-style country house located in the Kent countryside? Is it A, Slumber, B, The Ritual, C, Ghost Stories, or D, The Risen? By the way, how many of these have you seen? You come across from this territory?
Some of the films like The Ritual, because this film's called The Rite, there's lots of variations on this, so I don't know which one. I'm going to go for Ghost Stories.
Unfortunately, you would be incorrect. I believe the answer is... Oh, it's actually C. It's both. Oh, it's Slumber and The Risen. So it's a trick question there. I would have awarded half points if you'd...
Okay.
So not quite on that one. And next we have, which adaptation of a classic horror novel used the historic dockyard in Chatham with their remake? Is it A, Nosferatu, B, Victor Frankenstein, C, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or D, The Turn of the Shrew?
I'm going to go possibly for Victor Frankenstein.
And you would be correct. It is indeed Victor Frankenstein. So, in the end there, I believe that is 2 out of 4. So
2.5.
2.5, yeah, we'll call it 2.5. Not bad. Okay, well, let's move on now to our other news. From horror now to the local spooky showcases to more of an international flavour, the celebration of 2 film icons. John Williams and Steven Spielberg began their collaboration over 50 years ago. Their first film together was, I believe, the...
I was going to say Jaws, but
Apparently not. Apparently it's the Sugarland Express.
Oh, the Sugarland Express with Goldie Hawn, yeah.
And then they've continued with classics like Jaws, E.T. and Jurassic Park. What is it about this duo that makes it so iconic?
It's often been said, and George Lucas has said the same thing, that it's almost like if you take the music out of their movies, the films are bereft. I mean, even John Williams himself has said that a lifetime, is not enough for music, but people might think that music is enough to fulfill their lifetime. But it's the indelible imprint. Think of Jaws and the da-da-da-da. And apparently John Williams played that on the piano and Spielberg thought, what are you going to do with that? And of course that's legendary. Think of Jurassic Park. Think of the way in E.T. The music here is legendary. And John Williams has scored them all, Schindler's List. And at 93, there are rumours that they're going to be collaborating one more time for a Spielberg movie, as yet unknown, possibly about UFOs, which wouldn't be unfamiliar territory to him, to come out in 2026.
I see. And we were talking, this might seem like a bit of a left turn, we were talking a bit about Johnny English before. I quite like the film, and I quite like that movie. But do you think that what makes this duo so special is it's not only that John Williams' music, of course, is so amazing, but his style complements that kind of grand movie that Spielberg likes to make, whether it's the emotions of E.T. or the sinister nature of Jaws.
And also things like Oliver Stone and JFK and Home Alone as well. So it's the way in which he's collaborated certainly with Spielberg on pretty much everything, but also he's worked with other filmmakers who are looking for that same grand scale, JFK being a very fitting example. I actually went for an evening in London when it was all John Williams music, not conducted by John Williams, I hasten to add, but it was all the music. And of course everyone knew the movies just by listening to the first bars. I mean, Superman, Indiana Jones, this is legendary. It's a collaboration like none other. Obviously they're not all Spielberg films, but Spielberg is right at the heart of that collaboration.
That's true. They actually played at the end of Indiana Jones theme at my graduation, when I graduated from my bachelor's. And I think when young people talk about wanting to get into the movies, it's often the actors, the directors. Do you think someone like John Williams may have inspired people to get into the music side of film, which is something we don't really hear too much about?
It's like when sometimes people will say, what do you think of the film? What was it about? And you start to recount the plot and realise that that's not why you like the film. It's the underlying mood. I mean, Jaws is a good example. The plot is great, but it's the underlying terror. It's the uncanny, it's the numinous. And the music is what gives that its edge. So I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you take the music out of these films and you know that the films wouldn't carry anything like the same weight. So I think that you're right. I think that when you think about the collaborative nature of film, unlike writing a book, you need good cinematography, you need good producers and technicians as well as good actors.
Absolutely, it's a collaboration all around. Now, Universal described the project as a new original event film all about UFOs. What kind of film would you like to see, considering Spielberg's previous movies on the theme? Obviously, E.T. I doubt
Close Encounters as well.
Close Encounters, of course, yeah. So, do you think it's going to be maybe moving away from that style, if you had to sort of make a guess?
I would guess. See, he's very good at the intimate dramas on a big scale. So it's like always foregrounding family. There's always often like a missing father figure. His films are grounded in something we all identify with. E.T. is a perfect example. And it's as though the space is then taken by the surrogate, who's an alien, but in a way is more human and certainly apes the human and, effectively becomes like the human as the film develops. So I suspect it'll be on that sort of canvas, intimate but huge vista.
Absolutely. And we've got a new episode of Kent Film Club coming up. Can you give us a quick preview before we go?
With Ilias. Now we have 4 films which are actually mostly international. There's one set in Scotland with Scarlett Johansson, but films with a very international edge, and films which Ilias hasn't always watched in many years. It's like these films made such an impact. He put